The ESNreview is such a complex topic that I wanted to guide you through it with a couple of videos. Maybe only one video, it really will depend on how quickly this goes. I hope you enjoy it and I hope it helps you out a bit. First of all, it is important to all start from the same basis. The ESNreview is not one proposal. The ESNreview is not one change. It's not one discussion. The ESNreview is a cry for change that has been echoing throughout the network for the past 15 years. It's a need for the reforming of our network so we can continue doing what we love doing. And by now, it's a process that has taken over thousands of hours from many volunteers. Your predecessors, you yourself, your national boards, your previous national boards, the international board, committees, projects, myself, any active body in the network right now, any structure has been in contact with the ESNreview somehow. And spoiler alert, this process won't be over after this AGM. Whether this proposal is voted through or not, the process will continue for a long time after this. But to bring us back to the start, it began in 2007 with a working group being created that would explore our long-term vision. This included the network possibly expanding beyond Europe. The next time the topic really resurfaced again was in 2013 at CND Łódź, where the question arose on how we could improve our governance structure for the future. More working groups were created around the topic. Many more steps were actually taken in between then and now. But for me, the next big milestone was AGM Warsaw, where your predecessors voted on an action plan that included the start of this review. External consultants were mandated to review how ESN functions and how it could improve, and brought this report out, brought a report about this out. The next action plan came around. This was at AGM Berlin and was voted on and accepted. And three key topics were focused upon. It was structure and growth, knowledge management and recognition, and finances. In order to develop these changes, a structural task force was created, better known as the STF. Over the next year, multiple proposals were formulated to fulfill the needed structural changes to continue our network. Many of you might remember AGM Costa Brava, where there was kind of a big shock or a first fall during this process, or at least to me it was, because we brought two different kinds of changes to the AGM, one based on an entirely new structure, which you might have better known as the ESNreview Proposal 1, and then changes based on our current network structure, which was Proposal 2 till 5 or 6, I believe. From my point of view, both kinds of changes failed, as neither of them were fully accepted. But nobody stayed down. We got up again and faced the reality that we would need to do this again. So a new concept was brought out by the International Board, a new structural task force was appointed, and a new proposal was written based on all the information collected over the past years. This proposal is what I will explain in the next parts of this video, and it is a proposal you will be voting on at the AGM. Now keep in mind, between these videos and the AGM, there's a lot of time that might be used to put amendments out. Some of you might do this, some other sections might do this, and I can't cover these amendments in this video because I can't look into the future. So for now, you can use this video to understand the basic ESNreview proposal that you will be voting on at the AGM, and I hope it helps. So let us continue then, now that you've got the history down a bit, I would say. The current proposal that we have is an entirely new structure. It's definitely a big change, and if this goes through, we will have to make good use of the transition procedures that have been made for us. You can also find these online. I will put a link later to this. Now, my only title slide in this entire presentation is membership. It's probably also the biggest topic, but we will cover some other topics as well. I will say that not the entire ESNreview will be explained in this video. I've picked out the changes that I know you guys value the most, and I will be discussing these more. Other things though, you can still read up on in the ESNreview proposal, or you can of course always contact me. So in the current structure, you have local sections, like right here. They elect a national board, and in this national board, there's a national representative, you can see right here. Together, all these national representatives, they form the Council of National Representatives, or better known as the CNR. This is a strategic body that discusses everything concerning the network, tries to find solutions for issues, and tries to improve the network for the future. They also check up on the international boards. Then you have the annual general meeting, which is a body existing of all the sections in the network, all its members, who decide on all the matters in the network, basically. They're the decision-making body. Together, the AGM and the CNR decide on the international boards, who are in charge of managing and representing the entire network. Then they in turn hire people for the secretariat, appoint other people for committees and projects, and so forth. What this concretely means for you as a section is that you have to do the following things. You have to be aware of all the changes that are going on internationally, as you're part of the decision-making body, the AGM. You have to be aware of the national changes, as you are part of the national platform or the National Assembly in your country, where you elected these national boards, but also discuss national matters for the country. You have to be aware of local changes, as you are a local section who has to deal with a university or an international office or other matters inside your team. And you have to take care of the Erasmus students, because in the end, they're the ones who are actually doing this for. Now, I'm mentioning these things because when I look at the current proposal on the table, I feel like this is where the biggest changes are happening. I feel like the responsibilities are being shifted and moved around, and that also has a lot of consequences. So that's why I'm mentioning it here already, and I will go more into detail about this in later slides. So to now take a look at the proposed structure. The proposed structure still has local sections. They together, so all local sections of a country, form a national organization. But for the sake of keeping it understandable, we can also call it an ESN country if this makes it easier for you. So ESN Austria would be a national organization, existing out of all its local sections. It has a board, which was elected by the members of this national organization, so by the sections. These national organizations together, so all of these, form the General Assembly, which it's basically like what the AGM is right now. It's the decision-making body of the network. When making decisions, each member of this General Assembly receives a vote based on a section criteria and a national criteria, but more about this later. The General Assembly also elects the international board, who then in turn, just like in the current system, appoint people for committees and projects, hire people from the secretariat, and so forth. But now, what does this mean for the membership? Because this is what we were talking about before, right? So this would create a dual membership where sections are part of the network and they together form a national organization that is a member of the network. So you are a member of your national organization who is a member of ESN International. So as an example, ESN Uniwien, part of the Erasmus Student Network, member of ESN Austria. And ESN Austria, existing of all the ESN sections, member of ESN International. I hope that kind of makes it more clear. So both bodies are a member. Now, what does this mean for the responsibilities? Because this is what we were talking about before as well. Now, a section would, as a primary focus, have the local interaction with Erasmus students. This means the events you normally organize, the contact that you have with them, the office hours that you have, assisting them with paperwork, I don't know, any kind of activity you normally already do with the Erasmus students. Local business, which points more towards interacting with an international office or a university, or perhaps inside your team something. And national matters, because of course you're still part of this national organization, and it's important to know what's going on inside your country. Now, this doesn't mean that any of your other focuses that you had beforehand are suddenly dismissed. You can still care about all the other stuff, but this is your primary focus now in the network. Now, as a country or as a national organization, your primary focus will be the national interaction with Erasmus students. So this means the contact with the national agency, for example. National business, this means interaction inside of the national board, but also anything happening at your national assemblies or national platforms, whatever you want to call it. And also international matters, because together with all the other national organizations, your national organization forms the General Assembly. You will now be the primary decision-making body of the network, which means that you should care about international matters as well, you know. And then there is the board, the international boards. They will be in charge of the overall strategy of ESN and the international interaction with Erasmus students. This points more towards like, for example, the European Commission and dealing with that, those kind of things. So this is what the membership would look like and the responsibilities. Now, we've talked about membership and we also talked about voting before, but I guess we have to go more into detail there. So before, we had this annual general meeting where every member of this AGM had one vote to vote on matters in the network. And you had the CNR, which in the CNR each country had a vote for their matters. And at the annual general meeting, they also had one vote for the international board. So this is how the system was. You had the CNR, where every member of the CNR had a vote, and the AGM had one vote. The AGM got to vote on everything. The CNR only got to vote on the international board. In the newly proposed structure, we talked about this General Assembly existing out of your national organizations, who get a vote based on a section criteria and a national criteria. But the question now is, what does this actually mean? So let me go over that with you. So you can already see a beautiful explanation here, a beautiful formula. So what will happen is the weight of your one vote as a national organization will be based on the number of sections in your national organization divided by the total number of sections times 0.5. This would be the section criteria. Then you've got a national criteria or a country criteria, which would be you as one country, over the total number of national organizations times 0.5. Now, to put this more concretely in an example, let's take ESN Austria. The section criteria would look like this. So we have 16 sections and there's currently 528 sections in the network. So we divide that and then do times 0.5. This would end up to being like 0.015. Then we have the country criteria, which is we're one country divided by 39 countries times 0.5, which would get the following number. Now, putting this into something we actually understand, add these two up and you form 0.027 and then like a couple of numbers behind there as well. Rounded off, it's 2.8% of a vote that ESN Austria brings. So when we vote, we're 2.8% of the entirety. I hope that kinda makes the voting clear. I only took ESN Austria as an example. But yeah, so you got your section criteria based on the amount of sections and then your country criteria. Now that we've covered the voting, there is one more addition, or actually it was already introduced at the last AGM, but we haven't seen it in action yet, so I'm still going to go over it. So the new structure would still add an audit commission, which would now be in charge of, well, it would first of all be elected by the General Assembly, this is also important to say, and it would be most in charge of auditing. I guess the name kind of gave this away, right? And then you've got an arbitration board, which would also be elected by the General Assembly, and which would be there to dispute, to resolve disputes, dispute resolution. So now that we've covered basically all the bodies that there will be in the network, we've covered the membership and the voting, another part will change in our network. We're used to having a lot of events in the network. This is kind of our current, I kind of just took 2018 and I tried to throw as many events as possible that I could find into this calendar. We're still missing some, so that's maybe important to say as well. But currently in January, we kind of have meetings based around causes and committee meetings. This continues in February, where the committees are still meeting, and the communities are meeting as well. Now, committees would be, for example, ComCom, ITCom, ICE, those kind of. Communities is more the communication community, so all the communication managers, or the presence community, those meeting up in February. And you have one Council of National Representatives. Last year, this was in Belgrade, I believe. Then we go to March. You've got the pre-AGM CNR, which was last year in Barcelona. And then you've got the AGM, which was Costa Brava. Then in April, we move on, and you've got communities meeting up still, because not all the communities had a turn in February, especially because there were other meetings going on as well. We move on to May, and we've got another CNR. Last year, this was in, I have to think for a second, Crete. Then we move on to June, where we have a national boards meeting. This is where your national boards go to be trained. Then July, committees meeting up again. ITCom, FICO, ICE, those again. We go to August, the communities start meeting up again. So the president's community, the communication community, and so forth. We go to September, and there's another CNR. This time it was in Riga. Communities are still meeting up. The projects are also meeting, so this would mean Moving Europe and social inclusion. I'm pretty sure they also met up somewhere here at the first part of the year. Unfortunately, I didn't immediately find it in the calendar, but I'm just going to mention it. They met up somewhere here as well. Then October, you've got the regional platforms, CEP, SWEP, SEEP, so forth. And the projects still meeting up. So again, Moving Europe and social inclusion, for example. We move on to November. There are still some regional platforms going on. It's kind of ending though. And there's another national boards meeting, just like in June. And then we end the year with a Council of National Delegates in December. Now to go over these events again, because this is how our current calendar kind of looks like. The red ones are statutory events that that your country has to attend, or you as a section has to attend. So the AGM you have to attend, the CNRs is where your national representative now always goes. I put the C and D in pink because it's not officially a statutory event, but it's kind of viewed as one in the sense that everyone has to still be there, and you've got your national delegate being elected for this as well, so I'm putting it in pink. But as you can see, it's quite a big and busy agenda. In the new system, this would change a bit, or at least they will try to change it a bit. Now I know it still looks busy, but quite frankly, we have a big network, so that's not going to fully change. But they would group it better. So in January, we would have the international teams meeting and the committees. Committees we already discussed, ComCom, FICO, ITCom, so forth. International teams could be, who should I take as an example? Moving Europe is an international team. Social inclusion is an international team. The ESNreview team is an international team. February would have a national boards meeting where the national board would be trained again. March would be used for causes/projects, so health and well-being, for example. April would have the Erasmus Generation meeting. This is a concept that, is new in this proposal. It's not an event you actually know before. It's a gathering of all the members of our network, and it's kind of more of a conference style event. So you will have workshops, plenaries as well here and there maybe, companies showing up, info markets, best practice sharing, kind of compared with the I event, if you know that. If not, go Google I right now. This might give you eye pictures, but I'm kind of interested in seeing what search you you come up with. Then we move on to May, and we have our first statutory event, the General Assembly. This is what we discussed before. This is where your national organizations will send some of its members to vote on the national organization's behalf. June is a month off. Now I will say this will probably be filled with some kind of events that didn't fit anywhere else, maybe an Educate event, for example. But for now, it's free in this calendar. July, international teams meeting up again and the committees, just like in January. August, the national boards meeting again. September, the communities. So the presidents, the communication managers, for example, those. October, the regional platforms, CEP, SWEP, SEEP, WEP, whatever, NEP, they're all staying. They're still going to be in October. November, though, as another General Assembly. So this is again where your national organizations will send people. So we'll actually have 2 General Assemblies a year. I forgot to mention that the May one is where the international board will be elected normally, and you will get to meet the international board at the Erasmus Generation meeting as well. So they will be there, or well, the candidates, I'm sorry, will be there. So you can still talk to them and get to know them, and then inform your national organization board who you would like to see as a new international board. And you've got December, which is also kept free, so you might actually be able to celebrate Christmas for once, that might also be nice. The family might enjoy this. Now moving on from events, with this new membership, there is one more big topic I would say that changes, which is very important for sections, and that's your rights as a section. Now, here are all of them listed, which you can also find in the proposal, of course. I will not go over all of them right now. As you can see, there's quite a lot, but I've highlighted a couple of them, which I will go over at least. So here you can see the ones highlighted, and we'll now go over them one by one. So let's start with this one. You, as a section, have the right to demand a vote of dismissal during a national assembly. So this is like you now have your national platform on either the national board as a whole or a single national board member in accordance with the national statutes and established procedures. So what this means is, and it's put there in there for a reason, it's actually already in there right now, but a lot of people don't know. If you, as a section, don't agree with what your national board is doing, or a single national board member in your board, because they're not accurately representing you or they're just not doing their job, you have the right to demand a vote to kick them out. Of course, some countries might have national statutes around this as well and established procedures, so please keep these in mind as well. But yeah, so you can do this. It's not a fun procedure, but if it's needed, and you should take your responsibility. The next one is propose topics to the agenda of the general meeting for the section's initiative. So here's a weird term, right? The section initiative. So let me explain this more into detail. So first of all, the section's initiative is a way to propose a topic for a general assembly agenda. So let's say you want to propose to talk about let's say you would like to have a higher membership fee. Let's go with that, right? You want to have a higher membership fee. I'm not sure why though, but you do. You want to propose talking about this at the General Assembly. You as a section now have 1 year to collect support for your topic. This means for 1 year long, so you say today, I want this topic on the agenda. You have 1 year to find 10% of the sections to support this, which is currently 52 sections, from 10% of the countries. So these 52 sections should be from at least 4 countries. If you manage to do this, the topic will be put in the topic list together with the other topics proposed by your national organizations, for example, and will be considered by the chairing team to be put on the agenda. Now, the chairing team has a difficult job because they have to figure out what the important topics are, which one fits in which General Assembly, because you suddenly have 2 a year, and also what is the right now important for network. So it might be that they don't put it on there, but it's treated like any other topic, except that they know in the back of their heads that this is really from a big part of the network that this is being proposed. But let's say you really want to force a topic to be put on the agenda. Now you can do this. You can force the topic to be put on one of the next 2 General Assemblies. You still have this 1 year to collect your support. But instead of 10% of the sections, you need to reach 25% of the sections. This would currently mean you need to get the support of 132 sections from 25% of the countries. So this is 10 different countries. If you manage this, the topic is put on one of the next 2 General Assemblies. without any question. There's no way to stop this. In both cases, if the topic is put on the agenda, you as a section get, or one of your many supporting sections, get to select people who will represent your topic at the General Assembly. So you also get to go there to do this. So this is the sections initiative. It's there for if for some reason your national organization doesn't want to propose a topic that you would like to see on the agenda. Of course, the advice is to always first ask your national organization if they just don't want to do it and go through the normal process and not this hassle. So now to continue to your next right that I have highlighted. It's a new thing. It's call for, and you have the right to call for and participate in a referendum. Now the referendum is a new concept, so don't worry if you don't understand it yet. It's a concept which gives you the possibility to reverse a decision made by the General Assembly. So let's say, I really like the membership topic because it's numbers and people go nuts about numbers, so let's take that one again. Let's say the General Assembly decided to up the membership fee to 700 euros per section. It's quite a lot of money, right? And you don't like this decision. Your national organizations voted on this, and somehow it came to a yes vote, and you don't believe your national organization correctly represented you there. Then you can start this process to reverse this decision. Now, you have 30 days after the decision has been communicated to the entire network to start this process, wherein you need to collect 25% of the sections, which is currently 132, from 15% of the countries, which is currently 6, to start this referendum. Once it's started, the decision will also be suspended until this entire process is over, by the way. So the decision won't count until the entire referendum is over. So once it's started, this vote will happen, and you have a quorum of 50% plus 1 of the sections, meaning that you need more than 50% of the sections of the network actually voting in this referendum for it to be valid. Now, from the sections voting, you need a 2/3 absolute majority to revert the vote. So again, to reverse this decision, the question will be asked, should we reverse the decision made by the General Assembly? And you need a 2/3 absolute majority of the sections voting on this, voting yes to revert this vote. If this happens, the vote is reverted and the GA decision no longer stands. Now let's go to the next right. It's a bit less heavy, I would say. It's called participate in a sections consultation. Now, the section consultation is also a new thing. I mean, it's not really, but it is, and that's the funny part here. So it's already allowed now for an international board to consult you, but it's not really written down. So now there is a procedure that gives the possibility to either the General Assembly or the International Board to force a consultation with the entire network. This means that every section in the network has a right to voice their opinion on the subject that was brought. Oops, I went a bit too quick there. So yeah, this is what the section consultation is, and you have a right to participate in this. Now moving on from here, the next right you have, which is important now, especially in the new system, since your national organization will be voting for you at this General Assembly, you have the right to be informed by them on what they voted there or what they will be voting. This is your right from now on. And there's a lot more changes actually in this proposal. There is changes to how one section countries will be dealt with. There is national rights and duties. It's an entirely new system. But the changes I just highlighted are the ones I believe that for you as a section are the most important to understand. So to quickly summarize it again, we talked about the membership and how there will be now a dual membership of sections and national organizations. We talked about a new voting way at the General Assembly, where a vote is weighted from two different parts, a section criteria based on the amount of sections and a national criteria based on the amount of national organizations. We talked about the arbitration board and the audit committee. We talked about the new events, or the old events calendar and the new events calendar. We talked about your rights as a section, which meant the section consultation, the referendum, and the section initiative, which were really new in there. And now we're here, and many more changes. Now, if you would like to read more about this, I would highly recommend going to review.esn.org. It's a website with the entire history and the entire proposal also just there. It's really nicely written. It's very easy to understand. So if you have any more information needs, I would go there. I would also read through the proposal, and you can always ask me a question if needed. So yeah, I hope this video helped you out. And if not, then let me know.